Stopping at Houston today for an overnight stay and taking off tomorrow morning, heading west to Biggs Army Airfield in El Paso for a fueling stop, and then on to Dryden Flight Research Center at Edwards Air Force Base on Thursday. From there, the next morning, they'll take off, fly around California, and end up between 11 and noon at Los Angeles International Airport. Shuttle carrier aircraft and Space Shuttle Endeavour lined up on runway 15 at Kennedy Space Center's shuttle landing facility, prepared to take Endeavour aloft once again. Shuttle carrier aircraft commander Jeff Moultrie, pilot Bill Rickey, and flight engineers Henry Taylor, Gary Ash, and Larry LaRose, about to embark on the final ferry flight from Kennedy Space Center. Once airborne, the shuttle carrier aircraft will make a tour around the Space Coast at about an elevation of 1,500 feet off the ground, flying about 210 knots. It will be a majestic sight to see. Hundreds of onlookers are gathered at the shuttle landing facility, and thousands more outside the gates of Kennedy Space Center, awaiting the departure of Space Shuttle Endeavour and NASA's shuttle carrier aircraft on the final ferry flight of the shuttle program. And we have first motion, the shuttle carrier aircraft and Space Shuttle Endeavour beginning to thunder down shuttle landing facility runway 15, heading to the southeast, taking to the skies for one last time from Kennedy Space Center. And wheels up unofficially at 7:22 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Space Shuttle Endeavour soaring atop NASA's shuttle carrier aircraft, about to begin a 20-minute flyover of the Space Coast area. The aircraft will remain about 1,500 feet above the ground. Turn toward the coast, conduct a flyover of Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, and then head south down the beach, where onlookers are gathered. NASA television will cover this entire flyover as best we can. The shuttle and the shuttle carrier aircraft will head to the south and out of range of our cameras, but then we'll come back toward Kennedy Space Center for one final pass over the shuttle landing facility in about 20 minutes. During this flyover, the shuttle carrier aircraft will continue south along the beach toward Patrick Air Force Station, or Patrick Air Force Base. And then turn inland and fly north over the Indian River, heading back toward the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex and back to the shuttle landing facility before wagging its wings and turning north and then west and on toward Houston. Just after sunrise here in Florida, clouds in the sky, rain offshore, but not expected to impede this flyover of Space Shuttle Endeavour. The shuttle carrier aircraft is making its way south above the beaches, Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, and on down toward Patrick Air Force Base. And we're looking at a view from the beach as shuttle carrier aircraft and Endeavour about to fly overhead. Breaking through a low cloud layer, here comes shuttle carrier aircraft. It's accompanied by the Pathfinder and a NASA T-38 jet, a trio of aircraft making a flyover. A group of onlookers on the beach taking a look at Space Shuttle Endeavour passing by for one last time. But for residents of the Space Coast area, Space Shuttle Atlantis will remain and will be on display at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. It will make its move from Kennedy's Vehicle Assembly Building on November 2nd to the KSC Visitor Complex, and residents of the area will be able to visit Atlantis whenever they choose. Scattered clouds and a broken deck of clouds in the area this morning, making it difficult to track the shuttle as it continues its path down the beach. But we'll certainly be able to pick it back up as it turns north and comes back toward Kennedy Space Center. large group of onlookers not willing to leave in hopes of spotting the shuttle carrier aircraft and Shuttle Endeavour once again. And back at NASA's shuttle landing facility, midfield location, the onlookers, the invited guests, members of the media, await a return pass of this shuttle carrier aircraft. Again, after it completes its 20-minute flyover of the Space Coast area, it will return to Kennedy and make one last low pass over the same runway from which it departed, heading the opposite direction and only 200 feet above the ground. That will be its farewell to Kennedy Space Center as it takes off again and heads toward Houston, Texas for a stopover en route to California. After Endeavour completes this flyover and departs the Kennedy Space Center area, it will turn west and head over Titusville and toward Orlando. And weather permitting, it will make a pass over Orlando International Airport and Walt Disney World, and then continue on across the panhandle of Florida before it makes low passes at about 1,500 feet above the ground over NASA's Stennis Space Center, where all the shuttle engines were tested for flight. That's in Mississippi. And the Michoud Assembly Facility east of New Orleans, which oversaw the manufacture and testing of all external tanks. Those flyovers are expected about 2 hours to 2 hours and 15 minutes after takeoff, which again unofficially was 7:22 a.m. Eastern Time. Endeavour and the shuttle carrier aircraft then will continue on to Houston, Texas, arriving in the area at around 9 a.m. Central Time. It will conduct a flyover of many Houston area landmarks and land at about 10:45 a.m. Central Time at Houston's Ellington Field near the Johnson Space Center. Once our coverage of Endeavour's departure is complete, we expect that NASA television will begin coverage of Endeavour's arrival in Houston at about 10:20 a.m. Central Time, 11:20 a.m. Eastern Time. In Houston, the shuttle carrier aircraft is expected, weather permitting, to perform low-level flyovers of various areas, including downtown Houston, Reliant Park, the San Jacinto Monument, the Fred Hartman Bridge in Baytown, and then the Johnson Space Center in the Clear Lake area. In Houston, at Ellington Field, after the aircraft is parked and safed, ropes will be set up about 100 feet from the shuttle carrier aircraft, allowing the public to get quite a close view. And here we see the shuttle carrier aircraft once again. In Houston, viewing at Ellington Field will be open until about 9 p.m. Central Time or 10 p.m. Eastern Time this evening. Shuttle Carrier Aircraft Commander Jeff Moultrie at the controls. Bill Rickey, his pilot. Henry Taylor, Gary Ash, and Larry LaRose, the flight engineers, as Endeavour and the shuttle carrier aircraft head northbound back toward the Kennedy Space Center. Residents of the Space Coast seeing quite a magnificent sight this morning. And while residents of the Space Coast have had an opportunity to see such ferry flights in the past, knowing that this is the final one makes it even extra special. We're looking at the shuttle carrier aircraft from a camera mounted on the vehicle assembly building here at Kennedy as it returns once again for a low pass over the shuttle landing facility. And the pilots descending from 1,500 feet to 200 feet, approaching the runway. The aircraft flying around the Kennedy Space Center, giving workers one final view. An added treat, courtesy of the shuttle carrier aircraft commander Jeff Moultrie and his team. View once again from the shuttle landing facility as the shuttle carrier aircraft and Endeavour make their approach. Descending toward runway 33 at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Once again, a view from the top of the vehicle assembly building. A view familiar as we've watched many a shuttle landing over the years. This time not a landing, but a low flyover and a goodbye to Kennedy Space Center from the shuttle carrier aircraft and Space Shuttle Endeavour. tip of the wings and a fond farewell as Space Shuttle Endeavour heads toward the West Coast and its new home at the California Science Center in Los Angeles. And Space Shuttle Endeavour, atop NASA's shuttle carrier aircraft, makes its way out of the airspace around Kennedy Space Center, heading west toward Orlando. It's expected to, weather permitting, make a flyover of Orlando International Airport and Walt Disney World before heading further west, conducting low flyovers of NASA's Stennis Space Center in Mississippi and the Michoud Assembly Facility in New Orleans, before arriving in Houston, Texas for a stopover, a planned leg on its ferry flight across the country to Los Angeles International Airport. It's scheduled to arrive at Los Angeles Airport on Friday between 11 and noon, where an arrival ceremony will take place between 11 a.m. and 1 o'clock Pacific time. During the cross-country ferry flight, social media users will have an opportunity to share their Endeavour sightings with the hashtags #SpotTheShuttle and #OV105, Endeavour's vehicle designation, and post pictures as well. And this will conclude our coverage of Space Shuttle Endeavour's departure from Kennedy Space Center. NASA Television will provide coverage of Endeavour's arrival in Houston at approximately 10:20 a.m. Central Time or 11:20 a.m. Eastern Time.